Hello everyone and welcome back to Make Your Mind. This is the latest of my Kaiju sculpture showcases, and this one is another very highly requested sculpture. Mainly pertaining to the movie that came out recently, Godzilla vs. Kong, because this creature was actually featured in the film, but it was also featured in the first Return of Kong movie, which was Kong Skull Island, which came out a couple years ago. This creature was essentially the antagonist of that film. And I have to say is one of the creepiest, but also just one of the most, I guess one of the most tactile and just very, very ominous designs. It's a creature that when you see it, you know bad things are going to happen. So with that, let me go ahead and introduce viewers and subscribers alike. May I introduce the Skullcrawler. Look at this. Gotta say, it took me a minute to figure out how to do the head, because the head is probably the most difficult part. But as you can see, I've modeled this Skullcrawler sculpture off of the, as they called, the big one in the movie, which was the larger and I guess the older adult, or maybe even the alpha of all of the Skullcrawlers. And I believe there was, if I remember the movie correctly, I think there was 3 or maybe 4 Skullcrawlers in the movie. But once again, I haven't seen it in a while, so I'd have to watch it to refresh my memory. But the one defining features about the Skullcrawler, for sure, and one of the reasons why the skull is in the name, is its head. It has these, when you look at it head on, it looks like 2 eye sockets are actually staring back at you. When in fact, these are not eye sockets at all. These are actually the nostrils of the creature, and the eyes are located on the side of the head, right up there. You see that? And it's the same with the other side. But this creature is just one of the most unique, and definitely one of the more menacing sort of, I guess these are technically not kaijus, these are more daikaijus, because they're not quite the full size of a kaiju. Oh man, the sun's coming in my window. Look at that. But with that, let me go ahead and provide some context here as to what this creature actually is. Skullcrawlers are large reptilian creatures with only 2 long forelimbs and no hind limbs, as well as long prehensile serpentine tails, which you can see here, which have these sort of, they're almost like, they're like spikes, but they're also flat, so they're like fins almost. Little protrusions coming out of the end of the tail there. Let's see, several aspects of their appearance are noticeably skeletal, particularly their torsos and their heads. Now, one of the other things that's skeletal is the bony sort of armor plating that it has going from the back of its neck all the way down to its tail. And with this one in particular, the big one, has these bony protrusions on its arms. Once again, sort of armor plating, which could be bone. I believe it's a modified version of bone, but that is to be speculated, of course. Let's see. What appears to be the eye sockets of the skull line heads are merely empty fenestrae, presumably evolved that way to protect its eyes from enemies. So it's like a sort of diversion. So actually it's not, actually I was incorrect, it's not the nostrils at all. I thought it was. But these are sort of divergent, so that creatures would attack that. And when you see it head on, you can clearly see that you can't even see its eyes when it's coming at you, when it's coming forward. But it makes me wonder, how is this creature able to actually attack forward? I guess it can sort of see if it cocks its head to one side or the other, but if you want to see how that exactly works, just watch Kong Skull Island. It's actually quite an entertaining film. I actually quite like it. The pupils of their green eyes are horizontal and somewhat resemble those of frogs and toads. The colors of their scales range from dark brown to dark green, or to gray, or to bone white in color. So it's a mix of different colors. Let's see. Let's go ahead and do this here. Just looking at here. Okay, so here's the actual origin story of the Skullcrawler itself. Little is known about the origins of the voracious predator, yet they call this the origin story. That's funny. Although its evolutionary purpose is abundantly clear, the Skullcrawler exists to devour, destroy, and dominate. Subterranean in nature, burrowing up through the geological unstable steam vents across Skull Island, it is as though the Skullcrawler climbed up out of hell itself, which, I mean, could this be considered something like a Daikaiju version of a hellhound? I mean, yes, I would consider that. Here's it just sort of from the back. This terrifying serpentine is a hypervore, a creature with such a hyper-adrenalized metabolism that it exists in a constant state of starvation. So essentially, the creature is so big that it is always starving. It's always hungry, and it is all-consuming. It never stops. And I mean, heck, I don't even think, with the metabolism the way it is, it more than likely doesn't even sleep, really. Or I believe it does. I don't know. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, so let's continue. Just as a shark must keep swimming to survive, the Skullcrawler must keep feeding, dislocating its own jawbone so to maximize its ability to swallow anything that crosses its path. Wow, so it's like a snake. And with the gaping maw exists a long whiplash-like tongue, as you can see here with this... Just took that off here. As you can see, it has this sort of fork protrusion, but this fork also extends out very far and can actually consume its prey just by grabbing creatures with its tongue and then pulling it back with its throat, very similar to something like a chameleon or like a typical reptile. When the creature uses to ensnare and constrict its prey, its olfactory system can sense hot-blooded or warm-blooded life across huge distances. Once it has picked up your scent, the blood in your veins is like the blood in the water. Perhaps most striking is the beast's fearful visage, of course, the way it looks. A chilling, lidless skull face peer out through translucent flesh of two dark and lifeless eye sockets, regarding their prey with cold. Now, these are not actual eye sockets, but they do appear to be when the creature's looking at you head on. With cold, unflinching malice, the patterning of its facial features may be indicative of daimatic behavior designed to threaten and terrify its prey, and to even put its prey in a state of paralysis or shock just by mere looks. Which, that actually makes sense. There's many creatures that do that nowadays, actually here just in the real world. We have observed different skullcrawlers in a wide variety of different sizes. Given the unreachable depths of their subterranean nesting grounds, we have no way of knowing how big these things actually get, or the pecking order that governs their tribal feeding patterns. I mean, it seems like there is a little bit of order, but it seems to me like for these creatures, it's every skullcrawler for themselves. The more we learn about the cultural history of Skull Island and the indigenous petroglyphs which we have discovered, the clearer it becomes that the evolution of the Skullcrawlers has long been interwoven with Kong and its fallen ancestors. If Kong is the god of Skull Island, then this, no doubtedly, is the devil. And the devil takes many forms. And in this case, many different forms of the Skullcrawler itself. Such a fascinating creature. And then look at that mouth. God, you see that coming at you, I mean... like most of the characters in the movie, they just run for their lives. Because these things, they never stop. They're constantly hunting. But with that, that concludes the video. If you like videos like this, don't forget to leave a like down below, and remember to subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications, so you don't miss the next video. Like I said before in previous videos, I am going to be slowing down my content, mainly to get ready for a new type of recording process that I'm going to be going through. That'll be a little bit higher quality, so I'm still trying to figure out how that works. And also, stay tuned, I am also in the process of working on a store. I'm going to have some products ready, and when that website is ready to go, I'll have the link on my channel and also in the description below, so stay tuned for that. And with that, thank you all so much for watching this video, And I will see all of you on the next Sculpture Showcase.